trường của quý thầy. Thì quý thầy chỉ truyền nói tiếng Anh. Quý bác, quý vị nào không hiểu hoặc hiểu biết thì cũng thông cảm. Ngày mai sẽ có những quý thầy lớn sẽ đảm nhiệm về cái phần sách ứng cho quý vị về tiếng Việt. Trước khi mình vào cái buổi trò chuyện thì mình xin quý Phật tử chắp tay đồng hồi hướng đồng niệm lên hiệu Bổn Sư 3 lần. Còn Phật gia vị. Nam mô Phật Bổn Sư Thích Ca. Nam mô Phật Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni. Nam mô Phật Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni. Nam mô Phật Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni. First of all, I'd like to extend my appreciation to Mr. King, who's one of my long-term, he's one of the first, I would say, friends, Caucasian friends from North Carolina. We met in Lowe's, and he's the one who organizing and requesting this one-day retreat for the bilingual speaker, English and mostly English or Vietnamese. So yes, this is Kane, and would you like to introduce yourself? I only see 5 of you, wasn't it? Yes.
Yes, that is correct. My name is Kane Leonard. I'm from here locally, and this is my significant other. Her name is Dean Acme. And this is Tommy Howard and Gay Howard, married couple. And Granville Angel's out there somewhere, and he's the man that has helped with the benefit.
And I also have Sharon. She also found me online. Yes, so I appreciate all of your time being here. I know that time is in America, time is money. But yet you choose to be here with me and in this facility. So that is your first step of investment. What are we talking about? Investment. It is a form of investment. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, who are you investing it for? For yourself. Okay. So you invest it for yourself. You want it to find peace in your inner self. So, if you invest in yourself, who do you love most in this life? Yourself. Who's your husband? You don't love him? Who would you love most in this life? Yourself. Okay. I hope you are single. King, would you dare answering that?
Yes.
So you love yourself too, most. Very wise. I'm very glad today I have a very wise group. Most of the time people got up and said, yes, I would love my significant others. Why do you think you love yourself most and not your significant other? Love yourself first and you love others. Okay. Yes. In the Buddha times, there is a very powerful king. He's also have many concubines. And one day, he would talk to his queen and many of his concubines. He would say, so in this life, who would you love most? All of his concubines and his wife would say, of course I love you the most. You provided me safe, if you allow me to collaborate and being honest with myself, I would say differently. The king was very cautious and he's like, wait a minute, first you say you love me most, now you're gonna give me a different answer? What would that be? Why would that? Why would you give a different answer? The queen would said, yes, it's true, I love you most because you provide me with security. But honestly, in this life, to be honest with myself, I love myself the most. The king was curious. He said, why would you love yourself the most and not me? The queen would say, okay, let's pretend. You said you love me the most. The king also said that I love you too. But pretend that I would go out with other people. Would you still love me the most? If you say you love me the most, doesn't matter how I am or what I am, you still love me the most. That's calling you loving your significant other the most. But in that situation, you will probably chop my head off if I were to go out and having a side partner. The king would obviously say, yes, I would. So if you love somebody else, your partner most, why would you want to harm them? So in this case, yes, obviously, they brought this debation to the Buddha. And yes, all of you are very wise. I think because you have pre-learning this. And the Buddha said, yes, in this life, you do in fact should love yourself the most. Before you can give happiness, you can transfer that energy, the happiness, to other people. You don't change yourself. Your true nature is loving yourself, not other people. Your true nature. It doesn't matter what the condition outside. The condition was your partner went out with somebody else. That's the condition. Change you. Change your perspective. And you should not let that happen. There is also a story in this. There is a monk who's a very wise monk. He's saw a scorpion that he's about to drown, and he wanted to save the scorpion. He picked the scorpion up, about to set it down. Obviously, what? He got stung. The scorpion stung him, and obviously he fell again. Second time, he does it again. The scorpion drowned because when it was still in the water, he dropped it because he got stung. Second time, he's still saving that scorpion. Third time, finally he can bear the pain and still save the scorpion and put it on to dry burning. Another individual observed this and said, why would you do that? Why would you keep saving it when it's hurting you? Why would you do that? What would you answer? Why? Why do you think? She's listening. His nature, your Buddha nature, is the pure heart, is the Buddhahood. That's unchangeable. But if you allow the condition, the external condition, that being stung, to change your inner self, your true nature, that true nature doesn't change, but you change because of that condition. Therefore, you lost yourself. The monk said, I don't mind what the condition outside. It's the nature of the scorpion to stung people, right? It's protecting itself. It's nature. That's what it is. Like water. The nature of water is wet. Doesn't matter what you do, it's wet. That's its nature. My nature is to save people. Doesn't matter what condition come against me. I'm still gonna do being my nature. So his nature is what? Saving people. Compassion. Right? Doesn't matter what they change. But for us, since we's not there, obviously, most people will probably even run away when they see a scorpion, regardless, not coming even close. See, so that's in the Buddhism that we must learn, is practicing and finding your nature. And that's the practice of meditation. Yes, in Buddhism, we strongly talk about compassion. Obviously, that's the fundamental basic of Buddhism. But that's, to be honest with you, also the fundamental of the human nature is compassion. As you can see, most of us, when we was born, they're pure and innocent. But through times, what happened? What happened? Some of you, because of your nature, your surrounding, the condition, change you to become an attorney. Right? Some of you change to become a nurse, so on and so forth, because of that external. But through that, you lost the true nature, the true self. We often live by the expectation of the society. Mostly. Face. Very, very important is face. You know? And that's what, when we lost our true happiness. You can never, ever find true happiness from an external source. Doesn't matter what kind of situation you're in. Doesn't matter what kind of invention you have in this society. You know, all in America, we are known for what? The technology industry, the leader in America. We invented all this to what? To make people happy, right? Cell phone, games, all these entertainment. Yet, the rate of people getting stressed is still skyrockets. We are busy within finding that simplicity, the tool that we use, using that, but we, in a way, we get lost in it. Cell phone, a convenient tool, developed to help us to be closer, right? Cell phone was supposed to bring people together. Technology, emails. But do we really get closer? If you really take a look, I'm observing, if you go to a restaurant, any restaurant today, you will see a family of 4, each of their own in their tablets or phone. So are we close together? Contradicting, right? See, that's the thing. All these inventions are endless. It never ends. 20 years from now, if you look at all these inventions that we are so fond of today, what would that be 20 years from now? Obsolete. Obsolete. Useless. 20 years from now, I'm sure there'll be other invention for that time. Right? The Buddha teaches us any invention in any world are countless. It doesn't end. There's one way to end. One way to find happiness. There is. There is. That you can invent something or find something that is end all that. magical pills. But in this world, if we're not careful, we ourselves becoming our own slave of our invention. We are, if you really look at it. In a day, if you look at your phone, it will tell you how many hours you spend on it. It will tell you how many times you take it up and put it down and so on and so forth. They can do all this monitoring for you. But at the end of the day, with all that busyness, are you truly happy? Are you always worried about who's sending me the next message, or so on and so forth? I haven't responded to this email. I haven't doing all this. So these are the things that we are becoming our own slave, our own invention. A wise individual can apply this technology to help us. I'm not saying that these technologies are not helpful. They are. They are quite helpful. However, just like any vitamin pills, they can be dangerous. Too much of it, right? Imagine if you take, 4 or 5 pills of vitamin each day. It can kill you eventually. It can make you sick, right? Same thing with everything in this world. What we need to learn is to use the middle path. Knowing when is enough. Knowing how and how to apply what we have that's the beauty of living. I have a very useful phrase that I often say. The less you want, the more happier you be. Sound funny, right? Sound funny. The less you want, the more happier you be. In this world, the more you want, the more happier you be, right? I want a better car. I want a nicer cell phone, right? I want a better house. Want, make you happy. But no. Are you really happy? If you have a big house, you have to worry about the bills. You have a nice car, you have to worry about your back. You see, so these are the things, the desire that is endless. The one thing that is put an end to this, if you don't want it. There at the Buddha times, there's this farmer. He one day he heard the Buddha, who's a very wise individual, and he wanted to come to consult the Buddha. And he came to the Buddha. He said, Buddha, I heard you are wise. You have the answer to everything. I myself is a farmer. I'm pretty happy. I have a pretty decent wife. She's a good wife. But I think sometimes she nags too much. She's wanting or desire. But overall, she's a good wife. But yeah, I'm happy. I also have 2 kids. They are good kids. Yes. They're pretty obedient. But sometimes they just don't listen to what I tell them to. I want what's best for them. Yet they don't think so. So it does give me frustration. Yeah, so I'm a farmer. I do a lot of cultivating. Some year I got good returns, good harvest. Some I don't. Sometimes the weather is good, that I get good harvesting. Sometimes it's not. So the Buddha patiently listen. He just, okay, let it go, let it all out. Yes. I'm happy. I also have a house. Pretty decent. We are comfortable. But yeah, sometimes the roof is leaking. I have to fix that. You know. So he's here explaining all this situation. What do you think? Do you see yourself in that? Right? We are. Yeah. We are. Yeah. Right? Sometimes we have good friends. Sometimes we don't have good friends. So the Buddha said, at the end, he would say, oh, so these are all my problems. So the Buddha, he said, now you are wise. Can you tell me how to resolve all of my problems? The Buddha said, I am so sorry. I don't have the answer for your 83 problems. You have 83 of them. I'm so sorry I don't. He was upset. He said, you are wise. You're supposed to have the answer to everything. You are known throughout the land. You are smart. Why wouldn't you have the answer for me? The Buddha said, perhaps I don't have the answer for you, your 83 problems. But I do have a solution for your 84 problems. He was like, I have all that problem and you're saying that I have one more problem? I have 83 problems. What is that problems? The Buddha said, your 84 problems is that you don't want any problems. The 84 problem is that you don't want any of those problems. And he said, I do have the answer. Is that if you don't want any problems, that's your only solution. If you don't want any problem, that's the solution to solve all of your 83 problems. So in fact, in this life, we have to learn with what we invent or accumulate mentally, physically. We have to learn how to be walking the middle path, being happy with what we have. Be satisfied. The weather is cold. We acknowledge it's cold. The weather is hot. We acknowledge it's hot. If you resist it, it didn't do any better, right? If you resist any suffering, it's only adding gasoline to fire. But that's the tendency that most people would do, is trying to resist. And resistant along with suffering. But if you just open it with open arms, doesn't mean that you're expecting more problems. You just say, oh, if it comes, yes, if it comes, let it come. Then that's itself your solution of not suffering. Because you're accepting it. By accepting it, you are satisfied. But if you resist it, suffering will arise. Can you give me the so we still have time. I forgot to introduce you a little bit of my background, and I will come back to. I practice Zen meditation, bamboo forest Zen tradition, and I came to the U.S. when I was young. Lived through my life with the American society, graduate college, and so on and so forth. But practicing meditation always rooted in me. And then after that, I took the plunge and went to Vietnam and had to be ordained to become a monk. And then I came back here to establish this facility. Our practice is different than a few traditional Buddhism practice that you may have, you may seen, is like the mantra, like the Dalai Lama, that's what he practiced. Peeling, that's a different tradition. Just like in our society, we have many different practices, Catholic, baptism, and so on and so forth. Same thing with Buddhism. So so that's a little bit of my background in practicing the tradition of the bamboo forest sect in meditation. Now I want to get your participation. First of all, do you have any question or anything on your mind that you want to share, concern, or things that you don't understand what I just talked about? I remember in America we have that phrase, the only stupid thing is that you don't ask. There's no such thing as stupid question, right? So, something like that, right? Do you have anything for me? So, I guess you all are in a very, I would say, almost college graduate, huh? Because first of all, I asked that question to many groups, and I think you are probably among one of the group that said, "Yeah, I love myself much," very confidently. So I know that you have been practicing, or at least learning, right? Almost graduating.
I don't have questions, but I have comments.
Certainly, yes.
I heard your stories many times, but the way you are telling us make it more excited and more sincere passion. So it's just like a new story to me, even though I heard many times, and I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
So I have a question.
Oh, there's two people. Okay. You go
Sorry.
ahead. It's okay. You go first.
Yeah. So how do you know when you finally make the calling song? Finally, you awake that you like I got to go compared to.
So she's asking what is the motivation, or what is the key that make me take the plunge and detach everything and become a monk. There's no one singular factor in this life. In this life, we all know that it's all an accumulation, a series of condition. There's not one. Obviously, in my in the years that I was close to Buddhism, for instance, in my daily practice, I learn things just like any of you. I graduate, I enjoy my life, I go on places to enjoy myself my life to the fullest, healthy. And in those times, I have to say that I'm always conscious in regarding of what is true happiness. For instance, when I would go on a cruise ship, who went on a cruise ship before? Yes, it's quite a beauty. Isn't that heaven? Food 24/7. People making your bed, right? Like heaven. I did the same thing so that I know that one day if I become a monk, I won't regret it. I went to one of these cruises who happened to be the biggest, the largest ship during that time. And yes, it was an eye-opener. It was an experience. I got people pampering on me, making my bed, food, you can never imagine, right? That I would call heaven. Most people would say, oh, this is heaven. But I also observe. I seen in the morning the people that came into my cabin that cleaned my toilet. I said, this is heaven. But I look at their face. Is it really heaven for them? Is it really? So if you're saying this is heaven, this place, is heaven. It's so much happiness. But why is that individual is like hell for them? Cleaning somebody else's toilet in the morning. Or suffering. They're not happy. Obviously, you think they'd be happy. Yeah, they give you a smile like that, maybe. But it's not. So, if you're saying this is heaven, then why they're suffering people? So it's subjective, right? It's conditioned. It's not true. So you see, those are things that I observe, I see, that we imagining, we lie to ourselves. We often does. We say, oh, this is heaven. But frankly, if you really look at around people around you, if I'm happy, I'm saying this is heaven. You should be happy as well. Right? So those are the things that I meditate and I observe in my practice. For instance, I know some of you are IT here. Some of you are nurse and dentist. I was also used to be in IT, and prior to my practice, I often get angry because there are certain things in computer that is so easy for me, I can do it closed eyes. But some people just often asking me how to do this, how to print again and again. And first, before my practice, I would get angry. I would get upset. I said, stupid people. This easier things. But if you really think about it, if you fix something for them, they are so happy. Just the smallest things. So, but by you, who bringing this happiness to them, is that a wonderful thing? Even it's the smallest thing, very simple. But why would you be upset when you're bringing people happiness? If I look at it that way, I feel such a release. Because here you are, helping them, making them feel happy, at least for short moments, but yet, it's what makes them happy. Would they be crazy enough just to give you trouble and ask you to do something for the heck of it? Of course not. They needed help. So in my contemplation, I feel that, this angerness is nobody else than just myself. I get upset. They didn't get upset. They don't care if I'm upset, right? So it's all up in my head. That's when I got started to letting things go. And just naturally, if they need to fix, I fix it. If they needed help, I help, and that's it. That's the end of it. The same thing with our agenda today, letting go. After I fix it, that's it. But you need to apply this in your daily practice. You have to. Meditation can be learned, but to be able to benefit, it has to be experienced. There's no other ways. Cain came to me one time and said, is there a short way, a quick ways to go to reach that destination? Well, I'm sorry. Instead of finding the way, but if you're happy with the present, you are already at your destination. Like we often said, happiness is not the destination, but it's the journey, right? Like we always often do. Don't worry about the whole round of the path that we walk here, but be present with every step that you take. Regardless what, if you are going to do a whole round, it doesn't matter if you say, oh, let's hurry up or let's slow down. It's still going to be one round. So why don't you just live with the pace, live with the present. That's not resistant, and that's true happiness, and that's blissfulness. Okay? As long as you don't resist. Okay? Oh yes, you have a question.
Yes, I have a question because I just hear that we all saying we now learning a good lesson that we love ourselves the most. And I just want to know, like, with different, like especially with young generation, how for them to recognize, to understand the difference between love yourself the most as the mindfulness and being selfish.
Yes. Yes. Very good question, right? So I often said, love yourself. And even in Catholic, I know there's a saying that love yourself like you love your neighbor, right? Equally. And her question is, how can the youngster identify loving yourself different from being selfish? Right? So, anybody have thoughts on that? Yes,
I
yes,
sort
sure.
of do. I know a lot of you have heard this, but in my former life, I was a flight attendant, and we were taught in training, if you get into trouble and those oxygen masks come down, you have to put it on yourself first. And that was so counterintuitive to me in the beginning, because I thought, well, if you have a baby, your instinct is to save that child first, but they're like, well, you can't save that child if you're not breathing. So that metaphor has always helped me. I think just you have to take care of yourself so that you can best serve others.
Absolutely. That's his, yes.
Yeah, to follow up on that, and then there's one quote that I really like. It says, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you have nothing in the cup, you can't really take care of others. So you gotta fill up your own cup first to be able to have that capacity, energy to take care of others. Meaning your jobs and your friends and family and all the daily duties. And, you gotta find time to take care of yourself, fill up your own cup.
So when do you know it's full? Filling up your cup. When do you know it's full? Let's say if we pull it and it's over full, right? Overspilled. That's probably when. Will we say that? Let's just pull it until it's full and then, pull out on the table. Would that be helpful? To identify whether we are loving ourselves first and not being selfish. The one thing you always often keep in mind is whatever action that we do or our desire that you want it or loving yourself. But you know that without it, whatever that may be, you'll still be happy. That's the only time you know that you're not selfish. That's the only time. But if it helps you getting or collecting, and it's been taken away from you, and you are sad, you are selfish. That's when you identify it. Whatever you possess can be easily or sharing or taken away, and you are unmoved, you are not selfish. But as long as you are suffering, you feel distressed, you feel uneasy, you are selfish.
And that's because of attachment.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, how do you reconcile compassion and detachment?
Compassion and detachment?
Yeah, so you're compassionate towards people, but you have to detach from people and things. How do you reconcile those two concepts?
Oh, okay. What's the difference between meaning compassion, meaning you love somebody, right? Your significant others. She's asking, how do you know that from detaching yourself? Again, same things. If that individual imagining he or she is not with you, you're still living happy. That's, you know that you are detached. The reason I'm saying that is, accordingly, if you live truly with the present, when that individual living or being with you, you still being compassionate, you still devote your love to that individual. But once you know he or she are not around, and you're still happy, because you already give all your 100% when that individual around. But that individual is no longer with you, that means you are detached. You're still happy. That's the only time. Testament. If you can test yourself, then you know you are detached. You
But
follow?
But if Tutu leaves this life and you cry,
I don't.
you don't?
I had dog before.
I'm not there.
I don't, doesn't mean, you see, in this life, in this world, we use emotion to express our feeling as loving or caring. That's not always the case. You don't have to be attached to that individual all the time to show your love. For instance, I'm sure you made donation before to people overseas. Do you know them? Are you attached to them? Yet you still make that, you know, that's offering. Right? So, doesn't mean you have to be with them. Doesn't mean that you have to attach them to share your compassion. You are not attached, but you're still sharing your compassion. Right? So, it's very crucial, it's very different. Yes, it is a fine line. But like I said earlier, the only time when you can test yourself that you are not attached to things is, for instance, you have a very nice phone, let's take that away. I'm not talking about individual. Just for half a day, see how you feel. Then you know you attach or not. if Cain would go on a vacation by himself for a week, if you know you are happy or not, then you know that you are attached or not.
Give you bad news.
You see? Then you are attached. And yes, but that's the thing that will cause us suffering. That's the thing. If you are truly happy with each other at the moment, just share that moment. At that moment, at that time, you keep your old. Once it's past, you still be happy. And you should be happy because you said you couldn't give it anymore. You couldn't do more than that.
Because nothing is permanent.
Exactly. Yes. Absolutely. Nothing is permanent. Yes.
I just want to add a little bit
Mm-hmm.
how compassion,
Mm-hmm.
I find it is a little bit different than like attachment love.
Mm-hmm.
Is compassion is without condition. It's without condition. I can give money without knowing that person, without knowing they have bad habits or they have good habits. I don't need to know any of that. I just know that person is in need of help and I help them. With like love or attachment kind of love, there's always a condition. You have to meet this condition so I will continue to love you. So for me, that's a little bit of a difference when I feel, and sometimes I feel that I love, the kind of love that I love for strangers is healthier than the love that I love for people around me. Because people around me, I always have condition for them. For my children, if you don't want to upset me, you have to listen to me. For my parents, I have condition for you have to love me. Then I feel love. Then I can feel love you back. I always have condition, and I feel I will be better if I love my parents or anyone around me as I love a stranger. I expect nothing but to give myself of my service. Then I think sometimes it helps to think that way. Is our love conditional?
Yes, in theory. Right? In theory, we often love people or think we love other people unconditionally. I would have to say that in this world, except God or Buddha in our case, love somebody else unconditionally, or you are a saint. Other than that, in this mundane world, they're bound to be conditioned, whether it's strong, light, or not. But they're bound to be conditioned. Yes, there is.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about compassion.
Mm-hmm.
How do we cultivate compassion and translating into the real world that we live in? Like, okay, one of my coworkers is really annoying. I just can't stand with him. Or I broke up with my ex. I don't even want to talk about her. And how do we cultivate this compassion towards people that we don't typically
Fond of.
Right.
This slogan in our Zen practice, and I often remember. Does anyone know what that is?
Let it go.
Sorry?
Let it go.
Let it go, okay. Buông xả, okay. You say letting it go. Okay. Who else? Self-reflect. In Vietnamese, it would call phản quan tự kỷ bổn phận sự. Self-reflect. In America, I love this phrase. Put yourself in other people's shoes. That you will practice compassion. Imagine the people in front of you who is distressed or giving you hard times. Put yourself in that individual. How would you react? That's one way of learning about yourself. If you put yourself in other people's shoes, you would definitely have compassion for them. Often we don't. Often we think of ourselves first. That's being selfish. Like I mentioned earlier, the individual that came to me for help with whatever that is, I often think, oh, you are giving me a hard time. But if I put myself in that individual, oh, they need help. They're having a problem. That's why they're reaching out for you. I'm putting myself in that individual suit. I am reflecting, taking your problem, see how would I react if I'm in your shoe. Then I know how you feel. If I know how you feel, then I have more compassion for you.
Because we judge others by their actions and ourselves by our intention. You hurt me. Well, you hurt me, but I didn't mean to.
Mm-hmm. And we have many different very great master. I think even Gandhi has said this. If someone slapped you on your left cheek, give them your right. Slap you, right? I'm not saying that, it's like here, hit me, it's not like that. But this, if you look deeper, this simple action is very simple, but very, very deep. If someone hits you, meaning they hurt you, right? It doesn't need to be a slap. It could be a word, a saying, a sentence that's trying to hurt you, right? Let it come. Like he said, let it go. But I would say, okay, let it go, let it come. Whatever you say, just give it to me. But who is the one who allowed that word, that phase into your body? It's you. If you curse at me and I accept it, but that's all it is, I stop right there. But if I think and collaborate on it and say, oh, I'm like this, I'm smart like this, but you think I'm stupid? You see, these are the thoughts that you are making or creating suffering for yourself. But if he's cursing at you, and you say, okay, curse. But it doesn't do you any good. So who is suffering? That individual. It's similar to this case. We have a story, very popular story, and most people already heard this. Let's say we have so many food left over today. And when you leave here, I say, here, please take some home. But you say, no, I don't want it. What does that food belong to? Back to me. Right? Say, I don't want it. I don't need it. Same thing with what they would say to you or do things to you. You say, I don't need that. I don't want it. Then what is that negative energy, that anger? It's turning back for them. You being neutral. You are untouched. You are your own boss. Right? And that's also the will of being in yourself.
The king would want the food.
Oh, absolutely. By all means.
Some people want the words.
I'm sorry?
Some people want the words.
Oh, yes. One of the worst. But yes. Yes.
How do you have compassion when you're really angry?
Mm.
I get really upset.
Mm-hmm.
And normally I'm fine, But when I'm mad, forget it. That's it. And that's a problem.
Yes. Okay. In order to identify the problem, like a doctor we talked earlier, do you want a doctor that just graduated college to treat you for your disease? Or you want a doctor that who is very experienced? Obviously, right? Meaning practice, experience. You want somebody to experience, to teach you. The same thing with yourself. Practice. You have to practice. The first thing you have to identify is the problem, to treat the patient. You are the patient. You are, right? You're being upset, you're being mad, you are the patient. Find that solution to treat yourself. Identify the problem. Why were you upset from the first place? Like I mentioned earlier, it's a series of action. It's already accumulated before it reached that place because you didn't know how to control it. It does, that individual who's making her upset, it's not the first time. It's already accumulated, and you haven't let it go. You haven't really learned how to let it go.
Was Buddha ever angry? No, really. Is there a time that it's proper to be angry?
Prior to his enlightenment, I'm sure he has been. I'm sure he has been. But once he's enlightened, he realized, he experienced things that are impermanent, so obviously no. Nothing can cloud his mind. It's just like you and yourself. If you realizing that individual is only temporarily, that words or whatever that action is impermanent, and you really, really let it go, then the next time that individual make or say something, that should be adding up if you truly let it go. Yeah, but it is like I said, it's very hard. It's easy to learn, to understand in theory, but in experience, again, practice. You want an experienced doctor to treat you the same thing you want to be an experienced doctor yourself. You treat yourself. So again, for that, to find compassion, fix the problem within you, not that individual. Internal. Always, whatever problem in this world, if you fix yourself first, you fix the whole world. And that I will leave you. It's 10 o'clock. So yes, today is my only time spending with you. And later we will have a sitting meditation. I will give you a guided meditation. After that we will have lunch. After lunch we have a walking meditation. After walking we have about a 1 hour break or nap. In the afternoon we will have a Dharma question and answer or Dharma talk by Sister Pearl. He's also a nun that is, she came to the US when at a young age, just like I. So her experience with in America is greatly advantage for all of you. And she also practices the same tradition as we are. So she will give you that experience or her perspective. So now we will have a half an hour break to 10:30, and please gather back, and we will be having our first meditation for the day. It's half an hour. In our practice, we often sit about at least 2 hours, but because we are fresh out graduate, so that would take it one step at a time, slowly but surely. And so yes, half an hour breaks for you to get some drinks and relax. Again, today, be mindful with all the action when you go in and out the door, being aware of where you put your shoe. When you go into the house, close the door behind you. These are the mindful little things, but that's also knowing or identifying or showing your mindfulness. And if you are mindful at the moment, you are peaceful at every moment. Okay? We'll see you in a bit. Mình hồi hướng. Nguyện đem công đức này hướng về khắp tất cả đệ tử và chúng sanh đều trọn thành Phật đạo. All the merits that we accumulate, we share that with everyone surrounding us. Okay? Thank you. See you there.